Having a friend who treats you like one of his hoes has gotta be one of the most infuriating feelings on the planet. I have this friend who we're gonna call Albert. Now, Albert was not allowed to be in school for 4 days. Was this a vacation for being a star student? No, it was not. I hadn't seen Albert in a hot minute. So the day that he got back, I greeted him. I was like, hey, what's up? You know, let's not do that again. For context, Albert got into a bit of a royal rumble, a wallop, a couple tiddlywinks of a knuckle sandwich. But that's neither here nor there. That doesn't really matter for this story. The day that he comes back, I greet him. Right after, that exact same, like literally the next day comes, he is nowhere to be found. And I thought to myself, that's a little weird. Out of all people, I thought he would have been here, especially since, you missed school. So when the day ends, I give him a call. He doesn't answer. But I thought to myself, you know what? He's probably busy. I shouldn't be bothering him. Then he texts me, what's up? Because he sees I fucking called him. So I tell him, hey, you weren't in school today. Word on the street is, it wasn't for a good reason. And he has his read receipts on. So he leaves me on scene and just doesn't fucking reply. Now at this point I'm thinking, did I grow a pair of tits while I wasn't looking? Or what happened? Because why the fuck are you treating me like one of your side chicks? Who the fuck do you think Like, bro, I know you're not a celebrity, and I know you read my message. You really couldn't take the 2 seconds out of your day to just reply? No, fucking leave me on scene. Like, I'm one of your side chicks. You know what? I guess I'll go fuck myself. There are plenty of embarrassing moments in life that we're all gonna have to go through, but getting caught in your I don't give a fuck outfit by some bad bitches when you're out in the street, out and about, oh my god, that's gotta be top 3. I bought some pizza, and I'm tracking it on the app. I see that it's ready. I'm like, oh shit, let's go pick it up. So I put the address into the GPS, and I head over there. I pull up to this Pizza Hut, and I walk inside. I ordered my shit from Domino's. What the fuck am I doing? I didn't even realize it was a Pizza Hut until it was too late. I'm standing at the front register, and there's no one there. So I'm just waiting, tapping my fingers, twiddling my thumbs. Keep in mind, the entire time, I'm wearing no I'm fucking commando with some short shorts on and a John Pork shirt on. I was fucking wearing this. This is what And when you're going to fast food places, you don't really expect to run into too many attractive people. That's not to say that everyone that works at fast food is like some ugly, evil slob. I'm just saying, it's not a common occurrence. But to my surprise, when I'm dressed like a randomized GTA character, I see the most beautiful fucking Hispanic woman walk out in that Pizza Hut uniform. And she had her hair dyed blonde, but you could tell she hadn't dyed it in a while because the roots were coming in again, and I don't know why that made her so much more attractive. And she smiles at me and asks me, how can I help you? And I'm sitting there like the fucking Lego Batman gif, mouth agape like an idiot. At this point, I still didn't know that I was in a Pizza Hut. I walk in there, I tell her, order for Julio, and she's like, that's a little weird. We don't have any of those here. Are you sure that you got the right store? I check my phone, and I'm like, yeah, it's right here on the app. I flip it over to her. She tells me that's the Domino's app. Words cannot describe the amount of shame that I felt in that 15-second interaction. Oh my goodness. And it didn't help that I had this stupid fucking shirt on the entire time. Why do I even have a John Pork shirt? Who the fuck bought me this? Alright, I bought it. But still, like, why would I even wear it? So I waddle away outside of the Pizza Hut in shame, get in my car, drive to the right Domino's, and get my pizza. Bro, that GPS fucking hoed me, because I know for a fact, on my life and your life, I put in the right address. On our lives, I put in the right address. I don't know why it sent me to a bum-ass Pizza Hut. And it's not like I was ever gonna date this girl or anything, but it just really hurts your soul when a bad bitch sees you at your absolute worst. First impressions matter, and I absolutely blew it. And the pizza wasn't even that good, bro. If I knew Domino's was gonna be this mid, I would not have put myself through this torture. Music and suicide go together like peanut butter and jelly. And I'm not saying that because songs make you want to die. Quite the opposite, in fact. A lot of songs about suicide offer different perspectives on the topic itself that are really interesting to talk about, so that's what I want to do. Songs that address suicide vary in tone, but I would classify them into 3 groups. Number 1, a cry for help. Number 2, a means of understanding. And number 3, a message of hope. I think this somewhat broad spectrum really encapsulates most songs that relate to that topic, and I'll talk about an example of each one. The best example of a song that I would label as a cry for help is Young Girl A, which is a deeply unsettling song that explores the mind of a girl battling suicidal thoughts. The lyrics describe a girl who is trapped in a perpetual cycle of suffering, and as time goes on and her mental health worsens, we see her being more and more detached from the real world. When she says, if I disappear, would anyone notice? That line really encapsulates how she feels about her own life, and that emotional numbness and feeling of invisibility is what ultimately drives her to having thoughts about dying. A song that I would label a means of understanding, and this is a very well-known song about suicide, How to Save a Life by The Fray. And unlike the last song, which focuses on the suicidal individual, How to Save a Life offers a perspective from the outside looking in, a man who mourns the loss of his friend. The song offers a perspective from someone who regrets not being able to help someone they cared about in their time of need. And some people might look at this song and think, how does this relate to understanding suicide? The entire song is about the guy regretting not being able to help him in time. But the reason that I label this song a means of understanding isn't because he was able to save that person's life, it's because the song highlights the importance of listening, of reaching out and talking to someone before it's too late. The song doesn't offer a clear solution on how to stop someone from killing themselves. Rather, it just gives you the preventive measures and steps that you should take in order to ensure it doesn't happen to someone else. And much like in real life, that's really the closest that you can ever come to understanding the mind behind someone who wants to take their own life, which is why I label the song a means of understanding. And my personal favorite of the 3 is A Message of Hope. And a good example of this, I think, would be Adam's song by Blink-182. The entire song was inspired by a suicide note, and although most of the song does have a pretty somber tone, the very last verse, or the last lines of the song, deliver a message of hope. In the final verse, tomorrow holds such better days, it implies that even in the darkest times of someone's life, things will always get better. And this transition from gloomy and sad to optimistic serve as a reminder that suicidal thoughts do not define one's fate, and ultimately ended off with a message of hope. And while each of the 3 songs that I talked about approach the topic of suicide very differently, they all highlight one thing, and that's the importance of mental health. And by bringing those issues to light, they ultimately save more lives, which is what I think the songs are trying to do in the first place. You know, for a very long time, I was a fan of 2 types of marine animals, dolphins and seals. Dolphins and otters. I meant to say otters. Why? Because I thought they were cute, they could do cool tricks, they could swim in water. Why wouldn't you like them? Until one day I found out that a species of otters, sea otters specifically, rape baby seals until they die. And dolphins just straight up molest other dolphins. And I think specifically it's bottlenose dolphins, that's the species that has the most documentations of it. But what the? And I know that there's going to be some bum trying to tell me, well actually, rape and all of this bad stuff are anthropomorphic terms that only apply to humans. And since consent doesn't exist in the animal kingdom, you can't call either of these animals a rape. Use your fucking head, dude. What they did was still wrong. There was also a one-off case of a dolphin using a decapitated fish head as a fleshlight because the dolphin was held in captivity, so he had like nothing else to do. And I don't know, bro, the more stories that I hear about these animals, the more disappointed I become, and I'm just like, damn, I really like these dudes, bro. I thought these dudes were cool. These dudes are not cool. What do you do when you like a girl? Maybe you send her flowers. Maybe you write a song for her. Maybe you do something to get her attention. And in a lot of cases, these could be classified as grand gestures, acts of service that are there in order to portray feelings of emotion. And grand gestures vary in how they're performed and how they are received. And the story that I'm about to tell is probably the worst grand gesture that I have ever seen in my life. In middle school, I had this friend named Donnie. And if you don't know who Donnie is, he's actually a recurring character because I told a story of how he was e-dating a girl for like maybe 3-4 years. I don't know how long it is. Long story short, e-dating didn't really work out. His own e-girlfriend cheated on him with a dude in real life. Go figure, right? Pixels on a screen were not as powerful as having a real dude there. Wow. But that's not what this story's about. Donnie liked this girl who went to our school. At the time, middle school, right? Because we were all in middle school. He liked this girl, and we're gonna call her Heather. And I never interacted with Heather or knew her personally. We just had a fuck ton of mutual friends, which is how I knew about her. And to my knowledge, she was a pretty normal person. But Donnie had a crush on Heather for a good chunk of his middle school career. And while he tried to subtly hint that he liked her and do very small things in order to progress the relationship forward, none of his advances ever worked. But Donnie did not want to give up. He knew that he had to do something big. It was go big or go home, and let's just say he should have stayed his ass at home. Donnie learned how to animate on Roblox. And you know, Roblox is really popular among middle schoolers. We all played it, and some of us still play Roblox to this day. So what did Donnie decide to do as his grand gesture? He got Heather's avatar, her Roblox avatar. He got his Roblox avatar, and he animated them having sex. That's right, you heard me, I didn't stutter. How did he choose to impress his crush in school? By making Roblox porn of their avatars together. And I probably shouldn't have to tell you this, but if you like a girl, making Roblox sex animations of your avatars fucking is probably not the best way to win her over. In fact, in Donnie's case, it did not win her over at all, and only served to alienate her as far as possible from him because he is a weird individual. Grand gestures are traditionally supposed to be the ultimate move that you pull to win a girl over, and let me just say, that did the exact opposite. A lot of people have told me that they are street smart and not book smart whenever they don't perform well academically, and while I do agree with that statement to a degree, I think at some point we just have to realize they're fucking stupid. And look, I understand that school may not be for everyone, you know? I'm not gonna sit here and preach you some dumbass shit like, yeah, the C students, those are my entrepreneurs. The D students, oh, those are my multi-trillionaire business owners. And the A students, yeah, those are the employees who lick caviar off my nuts. I think that belief is a little bit far gone, but I can definitely see the notion of someone not being very academically inclined. But these dudes will get a fucking 30 on an Algebra 1 test and hit me with some shit like, huh, it's because the streets raised me and I'm just not book smart, but catch me in the streets, you'll see where I'm. Bro, please shut the fuck up. Please stop talking. I don't consider myself a very smart person. The only subject that I'm inherently good at is English. And with that, I can become a Starbucks barista or an English teacher. Two paths that are not very lucrative. But if I do something stupid, like failing a test that I was obviously supposed to study for, I'm not gonna come at you with the cope of, yeah, I guess I'm just not very book smart, but I'm street smart. But what does being street smart really get you in this day and age? If you told me that this was caveman times, sure, I'd agree with you. The guy who knows how to hunt his own food is probably a little bit better off than the guy who knows how to make cave paintings on the cave walls. Yeah, for sure. We're in present day, and survival of the fittest doesn't really exist anymore. We live in a knowledge economy, I think is how you say it. Look, street smarts can only get you so far. At some point, you're gonna realize that you need to have something in here too. The phrase bad things happen to good people was a saying that I would always hear get thrown around a lot, and although I did agree with it to an extent, I never really thought that it would happen in real life until today. Don't mind the hair, we just need to let it marinate, you know, give it about 24 hours. I know right now it may look like I have AI generated dreads, but it'll fix itself, I promise. I have this friend who we're gonna call Oswald. Now, Oswald does not live in the highest income area in the world. Now, I'm not saying he lives in the fucking projects, but definitely no River Oaks. And we're driving over to the movie theater to go see the Minecraft movie, and for him it'd be his first time. This is gonna be like my second time, damn near third. I've seen this movie. But we're driving there and he gets an unfortunate phone call. What do we find out? Oswald's car just got jacked. And it's not like it got jacked because he parked it in a bad spot or he left it out in the open. This shit was literally parked in front of his apartments. And, you know, I thought he used to live like a king, but this shit might be the trench. So we drive over to his house to check out the damages, and his entire car is just covered in snow, except the snow is broken glass. And keep in mind, while all of this is happening, there's a fucking thunderstorm going on. So we're like scrambling, barely able to see, covering up a giant broken window. And the entire time I was just thinking, fuck. On the bright side, no one died, and it's not like they had any valuables in the car to begin with, so, you know, they kind of just got fucked over and got their window broken. And this entire situation really made me think, damn, bad things really happen to good people. Now, Oswald might not be an angel, definitely made some mistakes in the past, but I don't think anybody deserves to get their car jacked, right? And moral of the story, the world is a cruel place, and you should probably invest in a camera for your car. Age gap relationships are a very interesting dilemma because you're walking a very fine line, and depending on how young you go, could depend how many years you spend in prison. And I've heard people give me answers from all sides of the spectrum. Oh, as long as everyone is 18 plus, it doesn't matter how old either party is. Or, oh, it doesn't matter as long as they're both minors. A 17-year-old could date a 12-year-old because they're technically both children. And those are two far ends of the extreme that I don't agree with. I had a homeboy who genuinely believed that age was just a number as long as both people were minors in the relationship. So this dude would be in high school talking about the incoming 8th graders are bad. Yeah, I had to cut that motherfucker off. But what prompted me to make this video was a live that I saw when I was doom scrolling. This guy said, my girlfriend is 18, I am 30, opinions, question mark. And boy, do I have opinions. And I was gonna try and join his live so I could know what his thought process was going into this. Because, you know, I wasn't gonna call him a pedophile. I mean, sure, I was thinking it, but I wasn't gonna say. Because technically, by law, an 18-year-old is an adult. Does that mean that type of relationship is ethically or morally correct? Absolutely not. Now granted, he did make this live on April 1st, so there is a very slim chance that this could all be a lie, a ruse, a scheme, an impractical joke. Joe, invite that drunk high schooler into your hotel room. But I looked through his profile and he does have multiple posts with him and his said 18-year-old girlfriend, and he put the hashtag age gap, hashtag it doesn't matter, I'm not gonna sacrifice my happiness for societal opinions, and that's definitely an interesting take to have, but I'll tell you what I personally think. Just because something is legal does not mean that it is correct. Just because you are protected by the law does not mean that your actions are morally or ethically in the right. And in my opinion, this is just an opinion, an 18-year-old dating a 30-year-old man is not correct. It is not morally right. It is not ethically right. It is not right at all. For me, an age gap relationship, maybe 1 year, 2 years at most. Okay, if you're 2 years apart, okay, you know, I get it, sure. 3 years, you see, my problem is anything more than 3 years, you start going into very, very huge maturity gaps and gaps in life experiences that these two people are gonna have, which in my opinion would ultimately make the relationship incompatible. But what the fuck do I know? I'm not Cupid, so take that opinion with a grain of salt. But when I see situations like this, and this guy is not the first of his kind, there's plenty of guys that will go on to date literal high schoolers when they're grown men. Would you go younger if the law let you? Because when I see relationships like this, that's really the first thing that comes into my mind. Does it not bother you that when you were in middle school, your at the time girlfriend was in diapers? Does that not stick with you? Does that not make you feel icky? Does that not scream, maybe I shouldn't be doing it? Because I feel like as a 30-year-old man, the dating pool is pretty big. You could go for 29-year-old girls, 28-year-old girls, 27-year-old girls. You could go for 30-year-old women. You could go for 40-year-old women. There is a huge and broad spectrum of fish in the sea for you to try and date. But you choose the girl that's in high school. I don't know, it just doesn't sit right with me. Ergophobia is the irrational fear of work, the fear of getting a job. And I've recently learned that this is a real medically diagnosable phobia, and it's really surprising to me because I've met a lot of people in my life who have ergophobia. I know some dudes who throughout the 4 years that they've been in high school have not gotten as much as a part-time job. And obviously there's always going to be extenuating circumstances as to why someone can't get a job. Maybe your parents won't let you, maybe you just don't want to work, maybe you have ergophobia. But whatever the case may be, I know some dudes who have that shit to a debilitating level. The year is about to end, and it's coming time to pay senior dues if you want to go on any of the trips and shit. And one of my friends is talking to me, he is stressing. He's like, oh bro, $100 for the cap and gown? How am I going to pay for this, bro? And I suggested to him, if you don't have the money now, it's fine because you can always get an extension and you can just get a job to pay for the money. As soon as I said that word, he looked at me like I uttered Voldemort's name. He just started visibly getting disgusted. He scooted away from me mid-conversation. And when I ask him what's wrong with getting a job, he doesn't even respond. He just fucking leaves. And these are the same dudes who always find some way to pull money out of their ass one way or another. I don't know how they do it, but you know what? I think we all have a little bit of ergophobia in us because if you weren't getting paid, would you still be working? I think the easy answer to that is no. I Am Music was the most disappointing album that I've ever had to wait 5 years for in my entire life. Dudes were hyping up this album like it was gonna be the second coming of Christ. Like, the second that it dropped, world hunger would cease to exist, and all wars would And don't get me wrong, I'm a Cardi fan as much as the next guy, and I was excited for this album, right? He's fucking dropped after 5 years, finally. This motherfucker went 3 for 30. Out of the 30 songs in that album, I can only name about 3 or 4 that are genuinely good. Rather Lie, Wake Up Filthy, We Need All the Vibes, and Olympian are the 4 songs that I genuinely enjoyed from the album, and everything else was just coma-inducing bullshit. The very first song in the album, Pop Out, sounds like violently explosive diarrhea mashed through a microphone with auto-tune. What the fuck are we doing? And it really is a shame because features-wise, this album was fucking stacked. We have The Weeknd, Travis Scott, Kanye, fucking Kendrick. And that's not to say that their performances were bad within the project. The album as a whole was kind of just a miss for me. But let me know if you guys liked more than half of the songs, which I doubt you did.
Can we please stop giving restaurants the weirdest, most suggestive fuck-ass menu names in the planet? I was looking for something to eat for lunch, and I came across this restaurant called Bun Slut. And just from the name alone, I thought it was going to be a strip club from the movie Sausage Party, but it was a burger joint. And the food actually looked pretty decent, and since I was in the mood for a burger, I decided to go inside and order. And I saw these fries that had like cheese and meat put on them, and I was like, damn, that looks pretty good, let me get the fries. And they fucking look at me like I'm speaking some different alien language, and then I have to correct myself. Oh, I'm sorry, let me get the
Slutty fries.
And then I wanted one of the burgers. What the fuck is it called? The
Slutty melt.
Why do I have to subject myself to sounding like a sex offender in public? I just want my food. I'm just trying to get something to eat, and these motherfuckers expect me to walk in there with a straight face and order the community glory hole cheesy cream pie deluxe. Bro, just give me my food. And there are plenty of other restaurants that do this as well. The only reason I'm talking about this one specifically is because I came across it today, and the food was good. Don't get me wrong, it was some great fucking food. I recommend the place. But honestly, bro, just order online. Save yourself the embarrassment of having to pull up, asking for some slutty sauce on your fries. Yeah, bro.
Make sure to smash that like button and comment what your favorite slutty meal is for a chance to win 1 million Monopoly bucks.
I don't know how relatable this is going to be to people, but I personally have a homeboy who has a lot of junk in the trunk. A whole lot of caboose, an abundance of ass. And I'll preface this video by saying it's not gay to say your homeboy has a fat ass. You don't have to be gay to appreciate another man's beauty. I don't have to be a lifelong professional sculptor to appreciate the Venus de Milo or the Statue of Liberty. I have a friend who we are going to call Bernard, and Bernard is a returning figure in a lot of the stories that I've told, and man does he have a figure. This dude is unironically walking around with a built-in BBL. Just absolutely huge. And I know for a fact there are plenty of chicks that genuinely envy him because they want what he has. And sometimes we'll joke around with him like, yeah, you have a big butt. And, you know, we all have a good laugh. It's all in good fun. But there's one person who takes the joke a little too far. This next character kind of reminds me of a Ninja Turtle, so we're going to call him Mikey. Now, Mikey loves Bernard. In fact, Mikey might love Bernard a little too much. Let me set the scene. We're in a morning class. It's an 8 a.m. class. It's me, Bernard, and Mikey. We're all sitting together in the back. And as per usual, I say good morning to Bernard, good morning to Mikey. We're sitting down, we're doing our work. And the conversation comes of Bernard's lower end. And I just react like I always do. I'm like, yeah, you have a big butt. And I go back to doing my work. Because at this point, the joke is getting a little old. But Mikey, boy, oh boy, he is infatuated with Bernard's ass. He starts saying shit like, yeah, you wouldn't last a day in prison. They're going to take your butt. In fact, I'm going to take your butt. And initially, Bernard was a little annoyed with Mikey, but he laughed it off. He didn't really care. But Mikey persisted. This went on day after day, week after week, month after month. Every time that we would have that class, rest assured that Mikey was going to say some shit about Bernard's ass. It got to the point where I was like, damn, we really might need to lock Mikey up. Because I'm not sure I can trust him to be a normal functioning member of society anymore, at least not around Bernard. And eventually, Bernard just stopped talking to Mikey. Logically so, right? If I had a big butt, and the only thing that someone ever interacted with me for was to talk about my butt or try to grab my ass, I'd also be not happy with that person. Moral of the story, Bernard is genetically blessed, and Mikey might need to do some time behind bars. These are my top 10 images of all time. Now this list is subject to change, but we're gonna start it off with honorable mentions. Honorable mention number 1 goes to Peter Griffin in the Persona universe. Fucking love Persona, love Family Guy, but apparently a lot of Persona fans have been seen to be correlated with pedophilia, so it can't make it in the top 10. Second honorable mention is gonna go to this pear cat. Not much to say, he just looks pretty chill. Coming in at number 10, we have a cat sitting by a windowsill smoking a pipe. I just really relate to this image on a spiritual level, despite the fact I've never smoked in my life. You know, you can't not love this image. Coming in at number 9, we have my friend's cat who has thumbs. Looking at this picture really pisses me off. Why does he have thumbs? This is the most unnecessary evolution that I've ever seen. He doesn't even fucking use them, but it still makes it on the list. Coming in at number 8, we have the Lucky. You know, it's just one of those images that's really, really versatile, and you can use it for everything, so it has to make it in the top 10. Coming in at number 7, we have this fat ass cat stretching his legs and touching his toes. The fact that he has no hair makes it 10 times funnier. He looks like a giant piece of turkey before you cook it. He just looks like a raw piece of chicken. Making it into the number 6 spot, we have Moo wearing his pajamas. Rest in peace, Moo, you will be missed. Taking the number 5 spot, we have this polar bear screaming at this penguin. This is just rage bait in an image. At number 4, I'm gonna put the baby wolf crying over his alcoholic wolf father beating his mom. And I know that sounds really morbid when I say it like that, but once again, it's one of those images that's really versatile whenever you need it. I'm gonna give number 3 to SpongeBob looking for himself. This episode was really funny, and it's a really great image for hypocrisy. Number 2 is gonna go to my dog wearing his Christmas uniform. I just think he looks really cute. And my number 1 image has got to be the Squid Game celebration meme.
This image was on a generational run and I will never forget it. And that is my top 10 images. If there are any better images that you can think of, let me know, but I'm happy with this list.
Over my school career, I have met plenty of dudes who are prodigies on the skin flute per se. They can't stop choking the chicken. They are fucking gooners at heart. But out of all the people that I've met, one person will always stick out to me and I will never forget them for how dedicated they are to the craft, to the point where it's a little concerning. There is this man named Chuck. We are going to call him Chuck for the purposes of this story. Now, Chuck seems like a pretty regular dude. One day we're at a college fair, and the college fair ends. Me and my friends are sitting at a table. Chuck pulls up to us and starts talking about, like, what anime girl is his type. It was something along the lines of that. I forgot. It's been years. But one of my friends looks at me, and he gets a fucking devilish, evil look in his eye, and I'm thinking, what the fuck is he trying to do? He suggests to Chuck that we make a group chat with him to discuss anime, like a fucking anime con. And I looked at him like, really? This does not seem like a good idea. What the fuck are we doing? And I don't know what he had planned, but whatever it was, turned out to be 10 times worse than he could have ever expected. The group chat was pretty chill. Nothing would ever happen. The most that we would do is send fucking IG reels or something funny. But one day, Chuck did something unorthodox. Chuck did something that surprised all of us. Chuck sends a voice message of really deep breathing, really deep labored breathing, just in and out, like he was giving birth. And the message that follows after that is, what would you say if I told you that I like the smell of my own reproductive fluid, to say his own special sauce per se? And my friends in that fucking group chat were agreeing with him and trying to egg him on, and that was probably the worst thing that they could have fucking done, because later on he sends us a Twitter account, or X, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And if you click on the account, it's a really fucking low-key account. It has 0 followers, but there's 2 pictures, and both of those pictures are Chuck with a little not so artificial insemination right here. You know, call it a milk mustache, except instead of milk, it was semen. And when 16-year-old sophomore me saw those photos, that shit made me sick to my stomach. I kid you not, a little tear welled up right here, because what the actual heck was I looking at? This is no words. Speechless. To this day, I'm still speechless. I can't really articulate the feelings that I felt that day. I just know that they weren't good. And that really made me realize that Chuck is a grandmaster gooner. Chuck is dedicated to his craft through and through. And I think to this day, the Twitter account's probably not public. I'd hope it's not. You know, if you have any foresight or planning, you'll probably delete that fucking shit because it shouldn't be public. But yeah, that is probably the craziest gooner that I've ever met in my life, and I don't think anything will ever top that. Because what type of pleasure do you even get from doing that? It's like a diary, but instead of writing out your daily experiences, it's just your daily load on your face. Digital footprint is a very real thing, and what you do and what you say on the internet, or even if it's not on the internet, if you get recorded doing or saying something, probably on there forever. And I was talking to some of my friends, and I was asking them, do you think my digital footprint is bad? Like, for the career path that I want to go into in the future, do you think my digital footprint would cause some bumps along the road? And they were all saying shit like, yeah, bro, your digital footprint is cooked. You know, it's over for you. I'm a bum and I have $0 to my name. The typical. I think my digital footprint is fine. Besides the unorthodox video here or there, I don't do anything bad on the internet that I'm ashamed of or wouldn't want a future employer to see. But when I started thinking about that, I remembered a girl from my middle school who has a digital footprint that is permanently fucked. We're gonna call this girl Amber. Now, Amber went to my middle school and she was one of the stereotypical popular girls that knew most people knew her. And I never interacted with her because in middle school, oh my God, you do not want to know what I looked like in middle school, but that's besides the point. Amber. One day during summer of 7th grade, I believe, it was either 7th or 8th grade, Amber's nudes get leaked. How do I know this? One of my friends, out of nowhere, just fucking DMs me, hey, look at this. It's her fucking nude. And when I think back on it, my friend was deadass an elite prestige max level gooner. Why the fuck do you have that saved? And why are you sending it to me unprompted? I do not want to see that. So her nudes were just leaked to the public, out and about for anyone to see. That's already bad enough. But the real cherry on the cake, the thing that tops all of it, she got clipped at a store, I don't know what store it was, at like a random supermarket, saying the hard R. She booted up her phone and told Siri the hard R. I forgot what the exact sentence was, but you could very clearly hear her say that slur, loud and proud, with her face on video. And I don't have the video because it's been years, but that is a public video that multiple people have sent across different group chats, and people have sent it to each other, and it's not really one of those things that you can sweep under the rug. You, my friend, are cooked for life. God forbid she ever tries to go into a field like law or politics, which require you to have a pretty good public image to be successful. Yeah, you are cooked. And either way, what would prompt you to say the hard R as a white person? You are white as snow, whiter than my skin color. You have no business saying that, bro. But yeah, be careful with your digital footprint. It might haunt you forever. It's pretty obvious that there are things you say with your friends that you cannot say to other people. I'm sure if a lot of you guys joked with random people in the same way that you joke with your friends, you'd have multiple sexual assault charges and some time in the state penitentiary. What I'm trying to say is people talk in a different way depending on the group of people that they're surrounded by. And I wouldn't say that this is a bad thing, more so just basic social awareness. But I have this one homeboy who we're gonna call Oswald. Oswald does not know how to act around certain people. You could say Oswald is a little bit lacking in the social department. One day we are sitting in a big study lab room. It's me, Oswald, a couple of my friends, and some people. These people, you know, they don't hate Oswald, they're pretty neutral towards him, but they're not really his friends. And a lot of the things that Oswald says would probably not fly with that group of people. We're gonna call them the Backyardigans. So it's me, Oswald, some other miscellaneous people in the Backyardigans. Oswald says words that he cannot say around the backyardigans. You know how Mexicans think that they can say the N-word even though they're not black because they're not white either? Yeah. Let's just say Oswald might fall into the crowd of people that I just described. So it's me, Oswald, the backyardigans, and some random people in the study lab room. So there's a good 9 to 10 people inside of this room. It's pretty packed. And we're all sitting here, and Oswald starts getting really heated about something. What it was exactly, I can't remember, but I do know that it got to the point where he started raising his voice. And he was talking so loudly that everybody could hear him. Any word, any syllable that left his lips would be heard at full display. And what does Oswald decide to do? He says the N-word. And when he said that word, that shit was like the scene from Dune when Paul Atreides yelled silence. He made the entire room speechless. To this day, I don't know what the fuck he was thinking to say a word like that ever, much less in public, in front of people. Oh my goodness. It's a good thing that study lab room didn't have any cameras, because if they did, let's just say Oswald would not be allowed to pursue a college degree. There are plenty of corny people that you're gonna meet in life, but in my mind, there are 2 types of corny. And I say corny in air quotes because that meaning is subjective, but I'll elaborate. There are people who are themselves. They are just unapologetically themselves, always authentic to who they really are, in public, in private, with friends, it doesn't matter. And sometimes those people tend to do cringy things, so people will call them cornballs. I don't really think those people are corny. In fact, I sort of envy people who really aren't afraid to be themselves in public. Now, I definitely will admit the secondhand embarrassment that I feel when I hear a girl talking about some skibbity Rizzler Alpha Sigma Hawk Tua, I stayed in my room playing Roblox all day. Yes, I do feel some strong secondhand embarrassment. But a part of me envies the fact that she can just be so outwardly honest with fucking strange. Those types of people who you would consider cringe, you know, to be cringe is to be free. And if you have the willpower to let yourself be free in front of the public, I can only envy you because I do. And then there's the real cornballs. In my opinion, true corny people are those lacking of personality. The ones who derive their entire vocabulary from a TikTok comment section. The people who will actively shit on anyone that does anything different or out of the norm. And number 1, the motherfuckers who unfollow you on Instagram but keep you as a follower. I am not your fucking fan. This issue doesn't really apply to me anymore since I don't use Instagram, but back when I did, I'd follow someone and I thought, alright, we're chill, we're friends. I don't talk to them for like a month, and not only do they unfollow me, but they keep me as a follower. Motherfucker, I don't care about seeing your bum-ass story. Like, you're really gonna unfollow me just so your follower to following ratio looks better for the hoes? Newsflash, you look easy to draw. No one is fucking getting with you. Liberation is one of the most common recurring themes in media, and for good reason. It represents the human desire to break free, whether that's from oppression, expectations, fear. It ultimately embodies the pursuit of freedom and authenticity. Themes of liberation connect with audiences so easily because it speaks a universal language of longing, a desire to live one's life by their own terms. And I'll give 3 examples of my favorite representations of liberation, one from literature, one from music, and one from fiction. Although I guess fiction and literature kind of overlap, but you get the point. Starting it off with literature, I'm gonna give it to Katniss Everdeen from the Hunger Games trilogy. Katniss lives a life of poverty and hardship and fear because she's under the suffocating control of the Capitol. And when she volunteers as tribute in place of her sister, this is when we see the beginning of her transformation. And throughout the Hunger Games, Katniss becomes a symbol of rebellion. Not because she chooses to be a hero or tries to do the right thing, but because she actively chooses humanity and love in a system that was designed to destroy both. Her refusal to kill Peeta, her alliance with Rue, what she does with the Nightlock berries. All of these are acts of defiance against a system that she hates. And through her actions, we can see that liberation isn't always loud or dramatic, but it starts with saying no. A single decision to say no to injustice, which can later be revolutionary. For fiction, this one was pretty obvious for me, but it's gonna be Luffy from One Piece. To me, Luffy is a character who is deeply symbolic and basically embodies the purest, most existential form of freedom. Luffy's dream is to become the Pirate King, and the reason that this dream is so compelling to the viewer is the reason why he's doing it. He doesn't want recognition or fame or wealth. All he wants is to be free, and to him, the Pirate King is the freest person in the world. Every battle that he fights and wins, he never does for glory. He does it because he hates seeing people stripped of the one thing he believes to be a universal human right, freedom. I'm caught up on the manga and I could go deeper into what his devil fruit represents in relation to his character, but I don't want to spoil One Piece too much in case anyone wants to watch it or go read it themselves, which fucking highly recommend. Oda is probably the greatest writer to ever put pen to paper in human history, and that's not even ridiculous to say. I'll end off the segment with this. Luffy's story tells us that liberation and freedom aren't just an external thing. Rather, it's the commitment to live by your own ideals, no matter what the cost. And last but not least, for music, I'm gonna give it to The Cult of Dionysus by the Orion Experience. The song that's playing in the background glorifies the worship of the god Dionysus, which is the Greek god of wine, madness, pleasure, and liberation from order. The entire song is painting a picture of a dystopian society where people are free to live however they want, free of societal expectations, and to indulge in any desire that they may have, no matter how chaotic it may be. The song repeats multiple times, "Welcome to the Cult of Dionysus," and I really love this line because it has 2 meanings. Number 1, it's a metaphorical call to abandon your inhibitions and join a lifestyle of complete freedom. But it's also repeated to drill into the listener's head that this way of thinking and this life deserves to have a cult-like following. The song invites the listener into a world where being true to yourself is the ultimate form of revolution. And besides the song just being really fucking good, Pretty cool message too. I could make multiple videos just discussing the Cosmic Candy album because man, that is a goated album. Great music, great band, but that's it from me. After watching all of Has Been Hotel, I decided that it's only right that I watch the predecessor to that show. Although I say predecessor in air quotes because it's not like these two shows are directly tied to each other. They're in the same universe, but one doesn't necessarily affect the other. So I sat through 21 episodes of Hell of a Boss, and to the people that told me that it was exponentially better than Has Been Hotel, you're right. I'll say that I definitely think it's better. It's still just not my cup of tea. I won't go into spoiler territory once again in case you want to watch the show yourself, but if you weren't a fan of Has Been Hotel, I promise you will not be a fan of this show either. I noticed that this show shares a lot of the similar pitfalls that Has Been Hotel happens to have. Number one, their over-reliance on sexual jokes and profanity in order to portray comedy. But I will definitely say there are some jokes in Hell of a Boss that I actually chuckled at. Some of them genuinely land, but it's just bogged down by the amount of fuck, shit, fuck, sex. Like, that is a good 70% of the jokes in that show. Just cussing really loudly, or a sex joke, or cussing really loudly with a sex joke. And once again, if that is your cup of tea, if that is what makes you giggle and chuckle, then by all means, don't let my opinion stop you from enjoying what you love. But in my opinion, once again, keyword on opinion, that is lazy writing, and it is not funny. That's not to say the show doesn't have its strong suits though. In my opinion, the songs in Has Been Hotel are not as good as the ones in Hell of a Boss. Some of them, right? Songs like You Will Be Okay, or what was it? House of Asmodeus, is that how you pronounce it? You know, those two songs I think are genuinely good. Would I listen to them in my own time? Maybe not. But I do think that they serve the purpose of progressing the narrative forward in a musical fashion, something that a lot of the songs in Has Been Hotel don't do. The voice acting is also something that is incredibly strong in this show. Brandon Rogers as Blitzo, or Blitz, whatever you want to call him, fucking chef's kiss. The premise in Hell of a Boss is also more interesting to me than the one in Has Been Hotel, just because I personally found it more interesting to look at a team of like devil imp mercenaries going around killing people than to watch a show about a girl and her like emo girlfriend try to turn people that are in hell into good people, like turn sinners into saints. Something along those lines. I didn't really fuck with it that much. The world building is also kind of ass, just because the show's internal logic is incredibly inconsistent. The best way that I can describe it without spoiling anything, the rules in the universe of that show lack cohesion, and how they affect the characters in that show lack cohesion. I know I already talked about this once, but the voice acting is so fucking good in that show, but the writing is so ass that I can't even appreciate the voice acting for what it is, because some of the lines in that show, I'll hear it, and I will like physically recoil as I'm listening to this. What the fuck am I watching? Overall, it wasn't a horrible watch though. Would I watch it again? Season 3 is confirmed to be coming out, and just for, you know, consistency's sake, I will be watching Season 3. Did I enjoy Season 1 and 2? Not that much. I'll say, the show had its good moments. There were times where I was genuinely enjoying myself watching the show, but more often than not, I was just there. I never really understood the phrase, hair is a man's makeup, because at the end of the day, makeup is a man's makeup. Nobody's stopping you from getting in a full face and walking around. You're just gonna look a little zesty while doing it, but you know, all power to you. But what I do agree with is that hair can drastically change the appearance of a guy, and that can be for better or for worse. And I'll give you an example. I have this friend who we are gonna call Mikey. Now, I get mistaken for being Mikey all the time, to the point where it's infuriating. And why? Because we both have this type of curly hair. And the only difference between me and Mikey, if you like saw us from afar, is a little bit hard to tell. We do both have like same hair and same ethnicity, and I don't really know the same skin color, but you get the... Mikey deliberately styles his hair to cover his forehead because he's a little bit more gifted in the cranium department. Almost too much so. You could call him Megamind. But the hairstyle worked for him, and he was a good looking guy, so no one batted an eye. One day he got a haircut where it was to my length, basically. And it no longer covered his forehead, and it was pretty short. It stopped kind of looking like pseudo dreads. And when he walked in there, the entire classroom started laughing at him, and I could not help but feel bad. He came into class looking like a background character from Stranger Things. I was half expecting Dustin to walk in the door with. And facial hair can definitely go a long way towards changing someone's appearance. And I usually think it's always for the better. I've never seen a guy who has facial hair look worse with it. He almost always looks better with it, unless you have a neck beard. If you have a beard around your neck, bro, I had this one homeboy named Jermaine who had a neck beard. Oh my day. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I wish I could just shed all of my hair and be completely hairless and walk around naked like this cat. Thank you. If it's rage bait, why am I so angry? If it's rage bait, why am I so angry? If it's rage bait, why am I so angry? And you know what I love the most about rage bait? The fact that it can never fail. It's like Schrodinger's rage bait, to be or not to be. It's in an eternal paradox where you're never gonna find out if it's true or not, because there's no winning. My hands are tied, and there's a cock ring around my urethra, because no matter what I do, I am in an argumentative checkmate. There is no winning, and you don't know how much that shit pisses me off. I feel like Gumball in that one episode where he was forced to be nice, so he had to hold all of the venom that he has inside of him until it was poisoning him. That's deadass me. It's a pretty well-known fact that the Minecraft movie is going to have one of the biggest opening nights that we've ever seen, and not because it's a good movie, and not because it has an amazing cinematic storyline with 10 out of 10 acting. No, it's because it's going to be one of those movies that is so bad it's good. People are already making entire playlists full of ironic brain rot memes, and the movie hasn't even come out yet. Motherfuckers are just clowning on the trailer for a movie that has not come. And something that I'm seeing a lot of people make fun of the movie for is the fact that it's going to be a musical, or it's allegedly going to be a musical because there's already like 6 original songs tied into the movie. And musicals are for losers and nerds who don't appreciate real music like rap. is what I would say if I was an absolutely brain-dead caveman who didn't listen to any other genre. But here's the thing, I know that the fact that it might be a musical is going to ostracize a lot of the audience that is going to watch it, but a very wise saying goes, don't knock it till you try it. I was a firm believer that musicals were all just nerdy and corny and not worth listening to, but after I tried giving them a listen so I could be a more educated hater, I went from being a hater to a fucking fan. That shit's goated. The best way that I could describe listening to a musical, it's like listening to an audiobook, but 10 times better. A really easy to digest musical that's pretty short if you want to dip your feet into that type of genre is 21 Jump Street, which has like, what, 4 songs? It's super duper short, but it tells a great story, and it has catchy songs, and it's just overall a very good piece of music. And there's so many musicals that I know motherfuckers would absolutely love, but they'll never listen to because they're too pretentious to get into the genre in the first place. We have shit like The Greatest Showman, Hairspray, Heather's the Musical, Be More Chill, Dear Evan Hansen, that one's Hamilton, bro. Who the fuck doesn't know him? I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you're gonna make fun of the Minecraft movie for being stupid and dumb and having a very questionable cast of characters that isn't very true to what Minecraft is, that's fair. If you're gonna hate on it for being a musical, that's where I draw the line. That's what I'm gonna tell you. You're wrong. There are many things that happen inside of school restrooms. Intercourse, hotboxing, haircuts, anything but actually doing your business. And it's for good reason, because the second that your cheeks hit that toilet seat and you try to do a number 2, just know it's the last mistake that you'll ever make. Under no circumstances should you ever, and I mean ever, shit in a school restroom. There is no scenario where you need to do that. If you think that you need to poop, it does not matter. Shit your pants. I would rather walk around with a giant diaper on my waist like the Boss Baby than ever have to shit in a school restroom. And let me tell you a cautionary tale. I have this homeboy who we're gonna call Emilio. Now Emilio is my age, meaning he's been around the school for a while. But last year, he did something that he knew he wasn't supposed to, and man, did he get burned for it. Emilio is a chronic school restroom shitter. It is not the first time. He is not a first-time offender. No. He is a chronic fucking school shitter. And when dudes find out that you're trying to poop in the bathroom stall, it's over. These motherfuckers threw the entire trash can inside of his stall with dirty tissues and all. It was like a shrapnel grenade, but it was just full of piss and shit. And if you think that's not bad enough, they also put their phones above the stall and took pictures of him, pants down, dick and balls out. Now, on the bright side, Emilio is a little bit of a more onset, heavier guy. So his natural blubber covered his penis, which is actually perfect. This is one of the scenarios where you really want to be on the bigger side. Had his legs and stomach not been covering his dick, it would be out there on the internet. But to this day, I can only feel pity for the absolute torture that Emilio went through because he did not deserve any of that. But it's one of those unspoken rules that you're never supposed to break, and if you choose to shit in the school restroom knowing that rule, that's all you. There are many times in life where I've been wrong. Times where I've experienced lapses in judgment. I'm talking to this girl, and I noticed that on her bag, she has a little keychain, like a furry tail keychain. And out of curiosity, I ask her where she got that. She tells me it's the tail of her spirit animal. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. We all have spirit animals. But she puts a lot of emphasis on the word animal. So, I noticed that, and as a joke, I'm like, haha, what are you, a furry? But as soon as I say that, her fucking eyes light up like a little boy who just got told that his dad, who was stationed in Iraq, is coming back. And she very happily and confidently tells me yes. And I was really taken aback by this because she looks extremely normal. And I know that might be a very crude way of saying it. I'm not trying to say that all furries are fucking evil, heinous, abnormal people. But, in my mind, I've seen a lot of, furry representation on the internet, and it's not always been the most positive. But this girl is bad as fuck, so if you're a furry, fuck it, I'm a furry. So I start asking questions of what I think a typical furry does. Do you have a fursona? Do you have a fursuit? Do you commission furry porn? I didn't ask that last part, but she did say yes to the first 2 ones. She has a fucking Egyptian Mao cat fursona, and she has the fursuit to match. And I asked her how much that costed, and she very casually tells me 12 bands. 12 bands just casually owns my fucking net worth in a fursuit. And, that interaction changed my fucking mental capacity. That conversation altered the way that I think about furries forever. Because, what? I later started doing some research on the internet, and I've come to realize a lot of furries are rich. A lot of furries have really high-paying jobs, like 6-figure jobs. I don't know how or why that's an occurrence, but in retrospect, being a furry is an expensive hobby, right? You gotta pay for the fursuit, you gotta pay for whatever else. But yeah, that was a really big revelation to me. Now, do I think I ever want to become a furry? No, I really don't. There's a variety of methods for making money, and why wouldn't there be? Money makes the world go round, and a lot of them can be a little unethical, unorthodox, out there, a teensy tiny bit iffy. But one method that I came across for making money is so fucking crazy that I really might consider doing it myself. There's this content creator named Zara Dar, and she posts educational videos on YouTube that are STEM related. So her most popular one was one about neural networks, and that had 1.3 million views. And if you're monetized on YouTube, she made roughly 3 bands off that video, which is a good amount of money. But what she does after is deadass just a fucking cheat code. She posts the exact same videos that she posts onto YouTube on Pornhub. She doesn't do any extra editing or work. There's no sexually explicit content involved. She simply posts the same educational YouTube videos onto Pornhub and reaps the ad revenue from it. And that is deadass the craziest method that I've ever heard, because it really does work. Allegedly, this pays a lot more than YouTube does. And I could definitely believe that, just because views on Pornhub would probably be harder to come by than views on a platform as globally accessible as YouTube. And that is just so insane to think about, because it's a genuine cheat code. You're just farming money off of work that you already did. Albeit there's definitely caveats. Your digital footprint might be permanently fucked if a future employer sees that you're uploading videos onto Pornhub. But at the same time, it's not like you're doing anything explicit, or there's no nudity inside of said videos. It's just educational STEM videos. So I started thinking to myself, if I started reposting these TikToks onto Pornhub and I somehow got monetized, could I be making fucking quadruple the money that I'm making? It's definitely an interesting conundrum to ponder on. Would I personally do it? don't think so, but she's pretty smart for that. I'm not gonna.
I saw a lot of people comment on my post about male canon events that being attracted to Hunter Schafer made them like that was like their canon event, and you know they're fucking mind blown, and now they think they're gay. Now they don't know what to. But why? She's a girl, and if you're a straight man, you're gonna like girls. Hell, I'd even go as far as to say if you're straight and you don't think she's attractive, you might be a little sprinkle. Jokes aside, just because a woman is trans doesn't mean that you're gay for being attracted to them. In my eyes, homosexuality is all about intention. If you are attracted to a trans woman and you're thinking in your mind, oh, she had a penis, oh, that's hot, then yeah, at that point you might swing the other way. Or you fetishize trans women, no bueno.